All right, all right, all right. It's 2 o'clock in my world, Pacific time. And I've still got so many amazing women to go. And they're coming and they're bringing their stories. The law nerds are coming. Oh, it's about to be crazy. But coming up next is Miss Monica Parker. Are you out there, Monica?
Right here.
How are you? How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm amazing. And this day, it's just a blessing to have all you amazing women join me and just hang out and share your stories. And I can't wait to talk to you. This is our first time actually connecting, quote unquote, in person, virtually in person. I want to thank you so much for coming onto the show and just sharing with us.
Thank you. And thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So you're an author, you're an actress.
Yeah.
But you were also in the film industry as a producer and a writer. Can we start there? Can we talk about that industry?
Sure.
Because, there's not a lot of women, even in 2022, that are part of production at that level, at film level, at television level. How did you get in that industry and what made you decide to do it in the first place?
Well, first of all, I think I have only ever had accidental careers. I am, what's the word I'm looking for? Not impetuous, open to opportunity. And I started my life as a dress designer
Wow.
because well, I had my mother had a very fancy shop. She did custom designs and dresses for private clients. She was a couturier, and I could draw. So I sold my first dress at 8 years old. I just drew something, and a client wanted it, and um, I think that sort of started me on my path. And I went to art school, and I became a dress designer. While I was being a dress design while I was doing this in this shop, one of my model girlfriends brought in a young guy. I mean, we were all babies. We were 20, 21, 22. I don't remember exactly. And this guy wanted dresses for his thesis project at university, and
Okay.
he needed to borrow them. And I said, "Sure, if I can have the lead." And he said, "No, but you can be a hooker." And I went, "Oh,
Oh,
okay."
wait.
And I got paid $125 and sat with all these people dressed as hookers and discovered, oh my God, this is the circus I belong in. And that young guy was Ivan Reitman, who went on to make Ghostbusters and
Wow.
Twins and millions of other movies. And so,
Wow.
it was the children running the asylum. But from that, I stumbled into that world. And then the next thing that happened was a new TV station opened up, and I was a big girl. And somebody said, "You're really flexible. Go sell them an exercise show." So I did.
Oh,
And
wow.
I wore a leotard, and I needed a director, and the only one I knew was Ivan Reitman. So I asked him, and he said sure, because he was young. And then my voiceover guy was Dan Aykroyd. And it was amazing. It was an amazing show because I got validation for the first time in my life. I had guests on who talked about body image, and it was the first time my family ever got that you can be whatever size you're supposed to be in life. And so that was how you ask how my career started in show business. Accident.
Yeah.
And from that, I stumbled into being a writer because having a show means I was writing it. It just all evolved. It evolved, and then at one point somebody asked me to do a stand-up, which was the most terrifying thing I have ever done in my entire life, and I mean, seriously, and I did it, and I don't remember anything about it except there were 2 guys in the audience who said, "Hey, kid, we caught your act," and I said, "I have an act?" And this was in Toronto, and they said, "We'd like to bring you to LA," and I went, "Is this real?" And they said, "Yes," and I went, okay.
Wow.
And I came to Los Angeles. And so, it's really about timing, opportunity, and saying yes. Saying yes. Even if you're scared to death, say yes.
Is that what you mean by finding gifts amongst the ruins? Is that what you mean? How did you
Yeah.
come up with that?
I think that life, we all know a lot of people. Everybody's always having a crisis or a calamity. And a lot
Mhm.
of people come to me just to talk to me because I have a big mouth and I offer up advice. And sometimes it's good. And somehow I really do believe this. I'm a very optimistic person. And I think when something bad happens to me, I truly believe my toast will land butter side up on the floor. There's always an upside to every bad side. because you learn something from it. You either learn it about yourself, or you learn about what not to do, or you learn that other people made mistakes. So that has been a life path for me, learning from my mistakes and believing there's an upside to everything. And so life gifts among the ruins are is that. You know, Richard Branson always says when you make mistakes, you're still falling on your face, but you're still moving forward. And
Yeah,
I always
Les
thought that
Brown says, "If you can look up, you can get up." So
same
I
thing. Same
I
thing.
absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. So for a simple, I'm 58 years old. Everybody knows that I put it out there all the time, 5 days a week on my show, that I am 58 and proud of it. For people that are out there that are thinking about making a change, they're finished with that first career. The kids are grown, they're out the house, and they're going, I've always wanted to act, or I've always wanted to make a film or write a book. What would you tell them?
You got one life. You better make the most of it if you want to do something. You know, if you can't do it big, I mean, obviously coming to Hollywood and trying to um, start a whole career at 60 is probably harder than at 20.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean people don't do it. We have outlets all over the place, YouTube, blah. The internet is a pathway to 1,000 opportunities to show yourself, to showcase whatever it is that you want to do. That being said, do it in your community. I mean, just because
Hmm.
you don't, not everybody has to be on the big stage. If you need to be on a stage, try not to make it be at your dinner table every night. Um, find some place where there's actually an audience
She
that
got a
isn't super
camera in
loud.
my house. How did she know?
I wasn't speaking about you.
Oh yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. I'm sure my family, my kids are going, would you please tell her to stop? When did you write your first book?
Okay, so I left Los Angeles. I lived in LA for a long time, and we moved back to Toronto 12 years ago
Okay.
because of aging family, and we wanted to be around them.
Hmm.
And it was winter, and it was really awful, and I wasn't used to it anymore, and I hated it. So
Mm.
I stayed in my office, and I thought, I'm going to write that one woman show I've been talking about and talking about. And I didn't want to be one of those people who had an idea and didn't follow through, even if I failed. So I wrote a one woman show. I didn't know what I was writing about when I started it, I had no idea. And I started writing and I started writing and got a lot of encouragement from friends who said, just keep going, keep going. And I wrote this show, and somewhere I understood that I was writing about, oh, the things that happen to us in life, but happened to me. Some of it was
Mhm.
funny, some of it was definitely not funny. But the show was called Sex, Pies, and a Few White Lies. And
Oh,
a director I'd worked with a long time ago happened to be in town. She said, I understand you're a one woman show. I'd like to read it. And I went, oh, okay. And then she said, I want to direct this. So she did. And
oh wow.
it became so successful. It was one of the most successful things I had ever done. And I brought it to LA, got amazing reviews. And because I'd left LA, and I thought, well, here I am, I'm back. And
Mm.
just with this show. The show got me a speaking career because someone came to see the show who invited me on a radio thing. And the very first speaking gig I ever did was for 200 psychiatrists and healthcare workers. And I said, why don't you just all roll up your chairs, and you've got every possible flaw in a human being that needs work. It's me. And so and it was great, and I loved doing it. And then from that, someone said, well, why don't you write a book? And I said, well, I've never written a book. So I called up a
Mm.
couple of friends who had written books, and I said, how do you write a book? And they said, well, you need a proposal. I said, what's that mean? So I looked it up. Proposal is the most amount of work. It's more work than a book.
Oh
But
wow.
I did it, and I asked friends if they knew any agents, and they said, I said, read the proposal, don't do me any favors unless you like it. And so they did, and I sent it to agents, and 3 agents, and 2 of them called me right back, one I never heard from, and I went with one of them, and the book got published, and that was my first book called Getting Wasted, spelled Waisted. It's the story of a fat girl in a society who doesn't, who prefers thin. And that book became a really successful book. So I wrote that book. And then they said, "Well, what else do you want to write?" And I had an idea about writing about how children see God. That book is called OMG, How Children See God.
Oh,
Because I
wow.
was really curious in this world about whether how kids, between fundamentalism and non-religion, I wanted to know what kids were thinking. And it's their drawings, it's their heart, it's their humor, it's very charming, it's really funny. And so that happened. And then I thought, well, what am I going to write next? And I thought, well, why don't I just bust it wide open and do it? So I wrote a book called Oops, I Forgot to Save Money. And, I'm very honest about this, but I thought money was a subject that really needed to be brought out of the dark and into the light because
Yeah.
people are always afraid to talk about it. So I figured if I was brutally honest about my incredibly, what's the word, up and down life with money, I say that my book is not a how to, it's a don't ever. But that book,
It's not a how to, it's a don't ever.
yep,
I love it. I love
it's
it.
funny. It's brutal, it's honest, I have other people's stories in it too, and the irony of my life is that I wrote this book and I now have a big bank sponsoring me as a speaker to talk to their clients about money.
Oh
It's
my goodness.
life.
Well, I thank you so much for being on. You're amazing. Before I let you get out of the hot seat, I got to ask you, what does International Women's Day mean to you?
Oh, sisterhood, in every way. I think feel very grateful that I'm a woman. I happen to think women are my constituency in every way. It's what I talk about. It's how I write about it. I mean, I like men. I just don't understand them. But I understand women so much more because I am one. So International Women's Day means a great deal to me. I think your last person on talked about the sovereignty of women. I thought it was a beautiful term, and I just feel that we solve problems in the best possible ways because we have this sisterhood where we can go and reach out. And so that's what International Women's Day means to me, reaching out to others.
Well, I thank you for being on, Miss Monica. You are the best. You're funny. I can't wait to read more of your books. I hope you'll come back and spend more time with me because I truly enjoyed this
Anytime.
conversation.
Me too.
Anytime. You are the best. Enjoy the
Thank you.
rest
So
of
are you.
International Women's Day.
Same to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.